Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this defense of Guy Livingston. He's going to start with a little introduction into his topic and research. So without further ado, Guy.
Thank you very much. The word silence encompasses a multitude of meanings and is used in a wide variety of ways across disciplines, media, and cultures. Silence can be societal, religious, mindful, meditative, diplomatic, political, aggressive, or punitive. Silence can be subject, verb, and object. In this research project, I experiment with the performance of silences. I consider notation, past and present. I study composers' use of silence. I analyze performances of silence, my own and those of others, and I propose new interpretations for playing silence in music. So what actually is silence? Let's listen to a little bit of silence. Is this really silence? Please stay. Is this really silence? You heard sounds. Sounds were created in the room by people around us. You became aware of yourselves, your neighbors, potentially. What character did this silence have? Was it peaceful? Was it reassuring? Did you feel awkward? Did you feel comfortable? What is the sound that we hear in the background? Some kind of air conditioning, fan system. It's quite loud, actually. This is a room which seems to imply silence, but actually it's quite noisy. So it was not really silence, what we just experienced. It was quieter, it was stiller, it was possibly more peaceful. But it was hardly silent, and it is hardly silent in this room. There is always sound around us. Yet experiences like this are often explained as silence. In fact, I've written an entire dissertation on the experience of silence. Technically, I have not written a dissertation on silence itself. So this is not scientific silence, not acoustic silence, but the interpretation and understanding of silence within music. That is my topic. In music, of course, there is also no such thing as silence. When a rest is notated in the score, do I have this at the wrong distance? It's too close, too far? Closer is better. Okay, let's try this. Oh yeah, that's a completely different effect. I can also make some weird sounds. When a rest is notated, oh, that's a, too much. Let's find the right distance. Adjust to the sound of the room and the context. A little more silence in the volume. Yeah. Perhaps the microphone is just on a shade too, the gain is perhaps a trifle too much. Yeah? Okay, here we go. There is no such thing as silence also in music. When a rest is notated in the score, or when the performer stops playing, there are still many sounds going on. There is the reverberation of the instrument, the echoes of the hall, the resonance of the architecture, the rustle of the audience. There are the thoughts in your head and the context around the performance. So is there anywhere we can actually hear real silence? That is, total, absolute, scientific silence? Yes, well, sort of. You need to know what an anechoic chamber is. That's a unique space, usually a cube within a cube. There's one in Delft, which is quite beautiful. It is a gigantic concrete box, and inside that is another slightly less gigantic concrete box. And the interior of that box is lined with these foam flanges, these sort of triangles. And when you go in the space, it seems like a kind of a science fiction experience, especially because when the door closes behind you and you are by yourself in the anechoic chamber, it makes this big whoosh, and there's a kind of compression of the air around you, and you are left in total silence. And you sit there, and you start to experience this very unusual situation, and you start hearing sounds. And what do you hear? You hear a sort of pulsing, beating sound. Doof, doof, doof. And then you hear another sound which is usually quite high-pitched for most people. The first one is the sound of your heart pumping the blood within you. And the second one is the sound of your nervous system. Other people also hear other things. If you have tinnitus, you'll become acutely aware of the ringing in your ears. When I go into the anechoic chamber, discover that I have a tic where I'm constantly, I'll do this for you. You hear that? So that's what it sounds like in the anechoic chamber when I start rubbing my beard. It makes this sound. And so you become exceedingly aware of yourself, which is the paradox of the anechoic chamber, because you are in a place cut off from the world, cut off from other people. You have no contact with other people. You are isolated, and there is no reflection of yourself. You only hear the sounds of yourself. And this creates a very interesting paradox, a kind of an existential paradox. Because we start confronting the question of like, how do we exist in this room? Can we actually hear ourselves thinking? So, my topic is not the anechoic chamber either, but it does teach us a lot about silence. This is not the experience of silence in our everyday lives, nor in music. So let me get closer now to my topic. In Western music, silences are usually written as shorthand signs called rests. Rests are little squiggles on the page which tell the musicians not to play. These notations do not relate to the emotional content nor the acoustics of the performance venue, nor do they take the physicality or instrument of the performer into account. Rests may not even signify silence. Musical notes can be qualified and quantified in the score via extra markings, dynamics, nuance, duration, pitch, accents. But a rest is notated in only one dimension: duration, length. Each squiggle has a specific duration, and that is all. This lack of notational scope seems to deny the wide range of emotions that silence can convey, the many functions it can embody, and the information it can transmit. Thus, my research question is, how can performers engage with the multiple dimensions of silence in composed music? This means, how can musicians play silence? How can they illustrate silences? How can they use silences? And it also means that we should ask, what are the dimensions of silence? What can silence signify? What does it communicate? When we say a silence is pregnant or awesome, when we say a silence is golden or a silence is broken, what do we mean? Can we identify these effects in music? Are they reproducible? What substance, what tangibility do silences have? I believe that my research has urgency due to silence's intimate relationship with the pandemic and to the increasing noise levels around us. Silence and gesture are also of crucial importance in hospitals, in the care of the elderly, in public discourse, and in diplomacy. So why do we have such powerful experiences of silence when listening to music? Is it that music is particularly apt for channeling experiences of silence which might be called awesome, ineffable, transcendent, or literally breathtaking? My research unpacks this relationship between the notated rests and audible silences by focusing on the role of visible, audible, and notational markers. I argue that the perception of silence, this experience of silence that we are talking about, is signaled to our brain by many cues. These are cues that the performer gives, or cues that arise from the context of the concert. I call these cues markers. When I stand in the anechoic chamber, the space and the spiky foam walls signify silence. They are cues, they are markers. But even more so, the sound of my blood pumping is a marker for silence as well, a cue that I am experiencing something I call silence. Another important finding is that silence serves a connective as well as a disconnective function in musical experience, sometimes simultaneously, a phenomenon I refer to as the not, N-O-T, K-N-O-T. Like two pieces of rope which are tied together by a knot, they are not the same piece of rope, yet they are connected. They are connected by something, but they are not connected by each other, although they actually are. Silence perhaps serves the same function in music, joining and separating simultaneously. Whether connecting or disconnecting, silence is often felt as tangible by musicians. Hence, a vocabulary of markers can offer musicians many new ways of understanding. I hope to extend my silence framework beyond music into language and discourse, healthcare, and urban planning. These are some of the interdisciplinary connections and disconnections that I plan to explore next. Thank you.